Welcome to our PowerPoint presentation on student engagement and the issues with student engagement that surround online learning.
The question we set out to answer was how have technology-mediated learning environments failed at student engagement, and what can we do as educational leaders to better engage students online?
When we started our research in this project, almost all of the readings and authors that we looked at started with this idea of the potential of the internet and how powerful the internet was, and the potential that people saw on the internet, certainly for education early in the genesis of e-learning. And then when that was become quite apparent as we sort of fast forward, is that that potential hasn't necessarily been realized. When we look at the stats and we look at the dropout rates with e-learning, that's a significantly higher rate. And some of the numbers that the researchers are throwing out is 25 to 40% higher than regular programs. And so one of the questions we had was, why is that? So as we started to organize our research into e-learning and these practices, and perhaps why it's not leading to high levels of engagement, we really focused on three main areas. The first was, what were the students' experience with e-learning and how did that not work for them? What was the nature of the teacher-student interactions in e-learning, and again, how does that lead to disengagements with students? And then finally, sort of what's the leadership or infrastructure gaps or deficits of these programs that's led to them being unsuccessful? So what's come through loud and clear in the research is that one of the main reasons why students choose to disengage or not connect with e-learning is frustration with the platform. Platforms that are highly technical, or even really the idea of how much background the students have in the technical, or how much technical proficiency the students have in the platform, certainly leads to levels of frustration. Certainly something I'm sure that all of us can associate with is this idea of, if you don't have strong connections to your classmates as well as your instructors, you get that feeling of isolation, alienation, and lack of community. And certainly that was something, again, that came through loud and clear in the research. The unclear objectives or a lack of connection to the students' lives, and something to connect back to their perspective of what learning and what the essence of the learning was, also came through loud and clear in the research. Students that don't feel that tight connection don't learn, or aren't connected or don't engage with e-learning on the same way that they don't engage in regular classroom instruction. And the final area that we looked at was the idea of motivation. Certainly the commitment of time to the process by the students, their level of academic discipline and perseverance, efficacy was touched on multiple times through the research. And last but not least is this feeling that they will not be successful, actually feeling that they cannot actually complete the program. Examining the research around the nature of teacher-student interactions and what leads to disengagement in e-learning, one of the ones that came through loud and clear was the lack of teacher feedback. And again, this is something that Hattie has touched on as well in his research. But there's also this lack of peer interaction. And again, I think this is something that we can speak to from our experiences with Royal Roads, that base of that peer interaction, that base of that community. And when that's not created in e-learning environments, again, that leads to students feeling disengaged and really alienated in the program. There also is the student's perception of whether or not they can be successful and whether or not they are being successful in this program. And again, I think that's something that we can relate to as teachers, right? We know that when students feel like they can be successful, they often are. The final area that we looked at that's led to disengagement of students is that online programs demand high levels of design and technical proficiency. And so if that's not supported by leadership and professional development, and the infrastructure that's provided, that will lead to poorly designed programs, is what the researchers seem to suggest. Also, without significant support for professional development, cultures of isolation, not only with teachers, but also that will trickle down into the students and into those online programs, which again is problematic. And obviously, one of the ways that Hattie suggests to address this, and this is not just strictly with e-learning as well, but with all professional development, and really creating that culture of excellence, is this idea of supporting teachers and learners in the environment and actually living it, as well as providing them with the time and infrastructure to support.
We will now be presenting the best practices that assist in increasing student engagement in online programs. Best practices will be presented based on Keller's 2010 ARCS model. However, it is also necessary to discuss course content and structure, as they are very important and can set a student up for success. It is imperative that there are clear and consistent structures, expectations, and roles that create a predictable environment, which is likened to a regular classroom. Important aspects of course design include teaching, social presence, and cognitive presences that increase student engagement. The first part of Keller's ARCS model is attention. Attention is interactions based on communication and dialogue. Most successful online environments provide opportunities for students to interact with each other, with teachers, and through activities. Communication must be two-way. It's not enough for students to listen to recorded voices or view videos that have been previously made. It is important to use technology to communicate at the same time. This permits a more intensive, more personal, more individual, more dynamic dialogue that can be achieved in using a recorded medium. Dialogue is purposeful, constructive, and valued by each party. Each party in a dialogue is a respectful and active listener, each is a contributor, and builds on the contributions of the other party or parties. Most successful interactions between participants and educators in an online program are synchronous, and they happen frequently. Synchronous sessions have been found to decrease the distances between participants. It is also found that increasing synchronous online sessions help to increase the interaction between the students and the learning content. Moore's categories of interaction, which include student to student, student to content, and student to teacher, are key. Student-student interactions go well beyond online discussions, that they can be purely social, ranging from seeking and giving assistance to solving problems and to cognitive engagement with the course content. Student and content interactions are often plagued by ineffective course design. Schilling found that online courses must provide multimodal learning opportunities for students. These opportunities must include visual, active, and virtual. Student-teacher interactions are crucial to online engagement. Meyer states that, of course, the instructor is also critical to providing answers to students who are confused, directions for the student who is lost, and gentle criticism when redirection is needed. However, it has also been found that a teacher's interactions with the students have a direct influence on a student's engagement with the course in respect to thinking more critically and deeply. Practical strategies to increase engagement for interaction are using synchronous communications to strengthen ties to the community classroom. The second section of Keller's ARCS model is relevance. In this regard, relevance is likened to engagement. It is found that most successful online environments related to the lives and interests of each learner, thereby stimulating engagement. It has also been suggested that courses be designed to include experiences that emphasize active learning, collaborative learning, and experiential or transformative learning. These are 5 practical strategies for increasing engagement and relevance in online courses.
The third part of Keller's ARCS model is confidence. Confidence, according to Gormley, Colella, and Schell, is a teacher's ability to help students gain self-efficacy or belief in their abilities to succeed in various parts of the course. Harrington and colleagues found that scaffolding and peer support are key components in engaging both motivated and reluctant learners. Gormley, Colella, and Schell maintain that scaffolding can reinforce and motivate learning through clearly articulating expectations and reinforcing them through summaries, as well as designing the course to offer autonomy to students. Further, they describe how sharing sample assignments and rubrics with students helps students with self-evaluation and goal attainment. Gormley, Colella, and Schell maintain that scaffolding can reinforce and motivate learning through clearly articulating expectations and reinforcing them through summaries, as well as designing the course to offer autonomy to students. Further, they describe how sharing sample assignments and rubrics with students helps students with self-evaluation and goal attainment. While there are a variety of strategies instructors can use to encourage peer support, Aneta, Folta, and Klasath maintain that projects which allow students to share their knowledge are a successful way to encourage peers to support each other. Further, Meyer suggests that active and collaborative learning contributes to a student's involvement in learning, ultimately leading to sustained engagement and deeper learning. Peer support develops community, motivation, and interdependence. Brown found that increased levels of community accompanied increased participation engagement in the class. Further, Brown suggests that creating a community of learners can improve student motivation and help facilitate interpersonal social interaction sought in an online classroom. Nicole and McFarlane-Dick describe 7 characteristics of effective feedback, including explicitly articulating what good performance is, facilitating reflection, providing students with high-quality information, encouraging teacher-peer dialogue, encouraging self-efficacy, closing the gap between current performance and desired performance, and providing information that helps to inform learning and teaching. Dobin and Chatwin explain how it is the responsibility of the student and the instructor to make feedback effective. For instance, an instructor must provide clear, concise, and high-quality feedback that will help students improve, and students must take the time to incorporate the feedback into future assignments. They go on to articulate how students who absorb feedback and go on to use it in future assignments develop the academic skills for self-regulated learning.
Educational leaders can do the following to better engage students online. Develop shared online student engagement goals, allocate resources to support shared online student engagement goals, provide ongoing online student engagement professional development for instructors, pursue ongoing professional development as a virtual leader, collect, analyze, and use data for ongoing online student engagement improvements. Develop shared online student engagement goals. Set goals mutually agreed upon by the entire team so everyone collectively works toward the same online student engagement goals. Set measurable online student engagement goals. Measurable goals are more easily evaluated. Allocate resources to support shared online student engagement goals. Allocate funding, provide technology, and develop trained personnel to help meet online student engagement goals. Provide ongoing online student engagement professional development for instructors. Invest time and money in this ongoing instructor training. Create teacher training courses and workshops on course design and delivery to promote student engagement online. Focus on student-centered learning pedagogy and practices to encourage online student engagement as outlined earlier in this presentation. Provide mentoring opportunities encouraging teachers to adopt technology and use it in student-centered ways to promote student engagement in an online environment. Distribute leadership and expertise through a professional community of teachers so online student engagement practices and expertise are shared among the team. Provide instructional design training. Instructional design contributes to course effectiveness, which encourages student engagement in a technology-mediated environment. Provide workshops, templates, and instructions on course design and delivery like the Community of Inquiry model to encourage online student engagement. Provide ongoing technology training and support for staff, students, and parents so the focus can be on teaching and learning. Pursue ongoing professional development as a virtual leader. Many aspects of leadership and administration look different in a virtual environment, such as instructor professional development and quality assurance for teaching and learning. Limited formal training opportunities exist for leading in an online environment. Job shadow or mentor with other virtual leaders to learn how to effectively lead and manage in a virtual environment. Job shadow or mentor with other virtual leaders to learn how to effectively lead and manage in a virtual environment, because it is more effective to learn from those already doing the job. Develop ICT skills. As a virtual leader, technology training is needed for both administration and education. Collect, analyze, and use data for ongoing online student engagement improvements. Collect data from all applicable stakeholders, students, parents, and teachers. Use surveys, an inexpensive and widely used data collection method. Decide what information is essential and carefully design a questionnaire. Collect additional data like course formative and summative assessments, course completion rates, final grades, and demographic data. Analyze data collected to evaluate measurable goals. Use data to identify areas for improvement in online student engagement. Use data to make research-based improvement decisions to promote online student engagement. Determine the conditions needed for courses to be effective, what support is required from teachers, etc., to make them work more effectively. And lastly, perform periodic reviews of curriculum and instructional material to determine how effectively they promote online student engagement.